This past Sunday, the 8th of May, marked the first ever Ancestors' Day. It celebrates and honors African spirituality and reminds Africans to reflect on the role of ancestors. Let's discuss this with Zolani Mkiva from the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Mkiva, for this particular conversation. I cannot believe that there's a storm about this in a country with a constitution like the one we have, with Section 15, Section 30, and Section 31 of the Constitution. So unless you want to talk about the storm and controversy that has arisen through the views of other people, I'd rather ask you, Mr. Mkiva, how did the celebrations of the first Ancestors' Day go?
Well, I am proud to announce to the nation at large that the inaugural ceremony of the Ancestors' Day, which was held in Bushbuck Ridge at the Royal Concourse of Kgoshi Mathupha Mokoena of Bakwena, went very well. In fact, it was a resounding success. Everything that we had planned, starting from the initial ritual ceremony from Thursday and Friday, culminating into the actual day, where the authorization and the inscription of that day as a day of the ancestor going forward, it went extremely well.
What kind of people showed up for the first Ancestors' Day, and what was the mood like among them in terms of what this day means for them?
It was a celebratory mood, actually, because as I say, on Friday we had a ritual ceremony which included the sacrificing of an ox in preparation of the actual day of the 8th. So on the 8th, we had representation from across the provinces. All the cultural communities of South Africa were represented by senior leaders who come from those communities. We had people from the Kru and Kwe community there. We had people coming from the Griqua community. We had people coming from AmaXhosa, AmaZulu, Abapedi, AmaVenda, Chitsonga people, Basotho, Batswana. All those leaders were there on the side of traditional leaders. But we also had traditional healers coming from across the length and the breadth of the country. They were not just in attendance. They were there to grace and officiate in the actual event by ensuring that they conduct spiritual devotion as well as prayers which are done in an indigenous fashion. We also had influencers in the creative industry, both from poets to musicians to dancers, traditional dancers. So it was an event that indeed was attended by a few people because we had to observe the protocols of the COVID regulation. So we had about 200 people at most in attendance. And the good thing about it is that they were carrying representativity of the millions of our people who had joined us online because the event was streaming live on various social media platforms. But also the media, the mainstream media also captured the event.
So talk to me about your effort now to get this day entrenched on the South African calendar, like other religious festivals that are marked by Christians, that are marked by Muslims and Hindus in this country, and other faiths in this country. Be it in the form of a formal holiday, as happens with Christian holidays, or, holidays that are not necessarily a day that is recognized as a public holiday. What are you going to be doing next to entrench Ancestors' Day?
The 8th of May, it's jettisoned to be one of the biggest festivals to honor the ancestors because it talks to all the natives South Africans, and it will also extend into the entire continent as well as the diaspora. So we will be championing the promotion of this day to ensuring that it is one day wherein us as the natives of the continent come together in unison and invoke the spirit of our ancestors and to celebrate the role that they had played. Because in us, we carry their genes, their thoughts, their hopes, and everything, including knowledge and the perspective for a future of a total emancipated Africa. So I think it is a uniting factor. It is going to be a single biggest thing that the world has ever seen in this century. And going forward, it is going to be indeed an annual day of remembrance, an annual day of salutation, and an annual day of honoring our ancestors. And it is going to grow. And I must say that it is a compelling case for it to be a public holiday in a few years' time. And but we are not worried about that, because once people have spoken, and in fact we will be doing a petition and an online referendum where people are going to be putting their signatures to support that call for this day to be indeed a public holiday.
Yeah.
However, I'm saying that even before it is gazetted, come 2022, you will see wonders. You will see a beautiful spectra when we'll be coming together to honor our ancestors and mainstreaming the African spirituality in a way that it has never been seen before.
Lastly, let me ask you to weigh in from Contra Lesa on the controversy, I suppose, around the issue of the Balobedu tribe for 400 years, right, being a queendom headed up by a queen. And now it seems there's an attempt to sort of change the path, and for the first time trying to install a king. What's your understanding of that situation?
Well, the Balobedu kingdom is one of the very unique and an antiquity that we have in the continent, by virtue of it being headed by a reign queen. So we have heard through the media that there is an announcement that there is going to be an amendment to that long-standing tradition. So what we want to do at this point is perhaps to go and hear this from the horse's mouth, which is the royal family of the Balobedu people. And we don't want to make any official response at this stage, because we have just heard it through the grapevine. But allow us to take time so that we can consult with the family, so that we can hear and get to understand the rationale behind that. And as I say, it has been a very beautiful history over more than 4 centuries of a single monarch which is known globally, headed by a reign queen with spiritual powers to make rain, amongst other things, but also with a very good history, prominent history that they have played even in the pre-colonial era, and its relationship with other kingdoms in the neighboring states as well as the neighboring regions. So I'm saying that we will be consulting with that family to hear from the horse's mouth.